Thank you guys for having me here.
I love to have you on.
Pat McAfee joining us on talkSPORT. 2 years ago, there was no Pat McAfee booth. There was no... And this week, you have basically been the life and soul of Radio Row. It's been crazy, man. Like, just seeing what you've done over the last 2 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So
That is very, very nice of you, obviously. Yeah, people were kind of forced to have us in their shows this week, and I don't necessarily love that. That's not necessarily a good business plan to keep friends, to have your show be forced into everybody else's show. Like the ticket in Dallas was right beneath our show right there. They had so many whats in their show. They were having interviews, I think, with Dak Prescott, and all of a sudden an A.J. Hawk chant started in the back. I mean, it has certainly been interesting. We're very grateful, very thankful, and hopefully we're invited back. But I honestly, I've enjoyed the hell out of this week, and I don't think this has obviously blown our dreams completely out of whack and proportion at this point.
I just want to put it in some perspective. Without Pat McAfee being here this week, there wouldn't be a video of me and our producer Ollie, the two whitest men on Radio Row, bopping at the side of his stage to Wiz Khalifa yesterday.
Yeah, and by the way, it looked like you were killing it.
I have the most sensational video of you going over and giving A.J. Hawk some stick and nearly stacking it. It was one of the best things I've ever seen.
What happened? What did we do?
Like, you came over and you started high kicking towards Hawks, trying to get him to join in.
Yeah.
And nearly fell on your ass.
Yeah, because my headset wouldn't reach all the way over there. That was quite a moment there. That kind of came all about pretty quickly there. And Wiz Khalifa obviously performing on the show is so cool. That is so ridiculous. But the fact that you killed it side stage makes it even better. You know what I mean?
I mean, this guy, honestly, Pat McAfee might be my favorite human being in the world. We've only talked to him for 2 minutes.
Hey, I'll return a favor there, too. If I had your accent and sounded the way you sounded, I would talk to myself all day. I would like, you sound so cool.
The problem is I do. Like, this lot have to listen to me talk to myself all day, every day.
Hey, I have that problem with me as well. I have to listen to me a lot, you know. Like, everybody here has to hear me yell for 4 hours. The other 20, I'm with me the entire time. I become a bit a lot. But this has been an incredibly awesome experience.
Do you feel the love a lot from the UK?
The love?
The love. I have a buddy who is a huge NFL fan, huge Colts fan. Like, we interviewed Jonathan Taylor at the Pro Bowl last week, and he was pretty jealous that we did that. He's more jealous that you're on with us now.
Man, tell him I said hello. Yeah, so
Sam Harris, if we could get that on video, just.
Hey, Sam Harris, what's up, mate? I wish you were here. I hope to be able to see you live and in person. I think we're going to do a European tour of some sort. I think we're going to try to get over there and do some shows because our YouTube, obviously, you know, because every day you can go on there and check your analytics and check your demographic and check who's watching. And that's the difference, obviously, between the internet and everybody else. And once we started seeing, like, real growth, we're like, oh, okay. So I thought it'd be like in all the states and or cities, and regions that had the NFL already. But, like, there was people all over Europe and all over that were watching. And then people started calling into my show. And we started getting different accents on the show. And I'm like, holy hell, like, you guys actually watch. Because we see it on YouTube. They're like, you have this many people watching, basically, like, let's say in England. You have this many people watching at this. And I'm like, no way, that has to be a bunch. Like, that has to be. So then we start getting calls in there. And then we start getting tweets. And then obviously once I go to SmackDown, that whole thing, it even raises up anymore. So I'm very thankful for the love. And whenever we played in London, we played against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We lost over there. But every human I met, and you seem to be the exact same way, the personalities on people. And, like, I enjoyed it. I loved it. I felt very comfortable over there. And I think that's maybe why our show does pretty well over there. But I love it. Yeah, and I have felt the love immensely.
My horrendous ego, by the way, is only getting worse at this point.
It's good, man. It's good.
This is just turning into like a charisma off between
that is something I will lose dramatically. But
now with that beard, dude. Look at that beard on that face. You look amazing.
If you do a road trip, is this going to be like a McAfee-style Madden bus going around the place? Because that's the behind-the-scenes documentary then that like pops off real big.
That will be produced by talkSPORT, and we'll be on the bus with you.
Hey, stop by. Come on in. That Madden Cruiser, learning about him was awesome. You know, because I came in a generation where it was after he had called games. Like, I heard him call games, obviously, growing up, but it wasn't like he was, like, Madden was the thing, right? The video game was the thing that carried on his legacy. And then watching that special that Fox put together, learning a lot about him and what he wanted to do to the game, how he wanted to present the game, how he wanted to call the game, how much he loved the game, that was incredibly inspiring. And, you know, they said, like, hey, this guy changed how games are covered and called. It's like, I don't think so, because a lot of the same boring people are calling games. I think he was an anomaly. I think he was great for the NFL. But there was a lot of things I saw in there. It was like, oh, that'd be sweet to try. That'd be incredibly cool. The Madden Cruiser, just stopping at random restaurants and rest stops and doing that entire thing, like, that's amazing. And I think if we do ever go over to the UK, Europe, wherever, with how everything is, like, you can do that. Right?
Yeah.
And then there's trains too, right?
Yeah, you can get the train from London down to Paris, well, across the channel at least, drive down to Dover and take the bus across and then start on the
See, I want to do that.
We'll go through the whole thing here.
How
to travel around Europe?
4:30, you'll be there at 1:30, and then you hit the road and go France, Germany, Netherlands. You're good. Yeah.
I think Pat McAfee in Amsterdam makes the most sense to me. But
I would definitely stop by there, yeah. Although, you know, any place can be Amsterdam with the right people. You know, that is something to think about. But yeah, I think we're coming over there, and we're gonna try to set it up as much as possible. And I don't know much. I played soccer in Europe like a few times whenever I was a teenager. Played in Germany, Spain, France, Austria. Liechtenstein, what a big country that is. I played there. So I played.
Was the pitch basically Liechtenstein?
Yeah.
Like,
actually, the stadium is in like the middle, and then it just had like roads that kind of led up through. I guess that's the Alps, right? I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Go and all roads led to the stadium. Basically, it was awesome, but I've never really experienced like Europe or life over there. So I'm looking forward to that, and we hope we can get over there. But this is amazing that you guys asked me to be on this thing, because I am a doofus from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I'm very.
We're all doofus from England.
We loved Pittsburgh when we only got to spend like a couple of nights there, but we had a good time, man.
Hey, I'll tell you what. If you don't mind drinking a little bit and having a little bit of a time.
We're not talking about it last night anymore.
No, yeah, or every night around here. It looks like everybody seems to be boozed up all the time. But, like, Pittsburgh is a place, if, they respect people that work, I think. They respect people that have a good time. Probably going to talk shit. Like, Pittsburgh is that type of place. And I'm very lucky to be from there. Very lucky to be from there.
So it's like England.
Yes.
Yeah.
By the way, that's almost what I felt like whenever I was in England. Like, whenever I was talking, I went to like a little store that was near where we were staying. We were staying on some golf course out somewhere. I forget where it was. But I went into like a town or whatever and stopped by a store. And the person that was working behind the counter, like, I just started having a conversation with, and it was like immediate, just like boom, boom, fire. And I was like, oh, I love this place. And they had no idea who I was. So they were treating me as if I was just some bum American that was over there. And then I go to the next place. It was like everybody we encountered was just electrifying. I was like, this feels like, it feels like places I've lived. And it's just, it was really awesome. I can't wait to get back over there.
Yeah, we'll have you back any time. What are the kind of, you signed the big deal, you've got everything going on with Foundation. What is the big dream? Like, the tour to Europe obviously being number one, but beyond that, like, where do you want to?
Actually, doing live shows is right now the current. So I don't really do a lot in my video, and I don't know, especially after watching, the Queen's Gambit, and I'm basically a master at chess and all that stuff. Closed Sicilian, open Sicilian. Some nights when I'm sleeping, there's just moves that pop up on my head. But I am on the roof. But I am very much a checkers player. Mm-hmm. Always have been. And a lot of people have knocked that for a long time whenever it comes to like business or whatever. But I think where I come from and what my dad did and what my mom did, like, hey, we're focusing on today and then we'll worry about tomorrow. I wish I had a really zoomed out big picture view on everything. Somebody asked me earlier, like, hey, what do you see in 5 years? Like, honestly, I have no clue.
Were you doing a job interview or where do you see yourself in 5 years?
That's what they're saying. Like, what do you see the show? Like, what do you see doing? I'm like, I have no idea. I am literally just trying to kill whatever we're doing right now. And then we'll see what comes next. And if I happen to get boom, 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 and kinged, and then come back, that'd be great news as well. But definitely live shows is the next thing I really want to start focusing on. So the tour of Europe is not far off, like, number one dream. Like, that is, I want to get into live shows. Like, I really want to get in front of people because our people have looked out for us so much from all over the world during the quarantine. They were just a number on a screen. Like, I really want to go say thank you to a lot of people and see a lot of people.
Obviously, when you retired from the NFL, that raised a lot of eyebrows.
emails. A lot of people around the media were questioning the decision. Have you just basically been walking around this room telling everyone I told you so?
No. I mean, they know.
I would be.
They know. No. I don't know, man. My mom and dad also thought it was an insane decision, too. So it's not like Michael Wilbon. There's a clip, Michael Wilbon, who's obviously one of the biggest names in sports and analysis. He told me that basically I didn't have any friends because they should have been holding my jersey on me for as long as possible and I could do whatever afterwards. And although he was not unique in that statement, a lot of people said that. That was one that I listened to. And that was one that I was like, oh, this guy doesn't even know that I've already done a stand-up tour, rented out the theaters myself, sold the tickets off my Twitter account. I already have a podcast, already have a merch business. And now I'm getting a chance to learn from the folks at Barstool on how the internet advertising works without having to move to New York. It was like I was pretty confident in what was going to happen. But, I mean, this is obviously beyond anything I could have thought of. But it is very, very expected for people to think I was an idiot because there's a lot of failed stories in the past. And, yeah, everybody seems to be very nice now. It is a very cool thing. I mean, there was a lot of people that I had to meet in between commercial breaks. And they were like, hey, I said, I was like, oh, I heard. Yeah. No, but they're all good people, man. They're all good people. I understand, especially now that we're in the day-to-day, the things that I potentially would say about somebody doing this. You know, you can get caught up in a moment, and I'm happy it worked out. And hopefully other people will be able to do the same. I appreciate that, though.
You're definitely the most popular man on Radio Row today, certainly. So I don't want to keep you too long, but I do have two more things.
Yeah, go ahead.
Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. How big was all of that for you? Because definitely for us back in the UK, a lot of guys who aren't into the NFL maybe or only casually, they now know who Pat McAfee is because of what happened around.
Yeah, we're very, very lucky that Aaron, you know, I don't want to say chose us, but he kind of we kind of, you know, got to know each other, chit-chat about each other, and he had never really talked to anybody about anything. He was always like an enigma. He the first time I met him at a golf tournament down in the Bahamas in real life, we had met each other on Twitter, but the first time I met him, there was like a 6-hour rain delay. Okay, so we're in a clubhouse, having a couple drinks. I am very good in those situations. Like, that is the spot where, you know, like, I really...
McAfee shines.
Yeah, like, hey, we're all stuck here. There's really nothing going on. We have, who knows, the rain seems to be coming. We're kind of stuck. We can't get back to the hotel. We have to stay out here. We're literally stuck in this confined area for an unforeseeable amount of time. Like, that is when I really... you know, things really go well for me. You know, story times start coming, like questions start being asked. I start talking to people. And me and Aaron had like a 2.5, 3-hour conversation over some drinks. We were telling stories. People were laughing, coming over and listening. And by the end of it, I was like, man, it was really cool to learn about you, dude. Like, nobody knows anything about you. Like, you should think about maybe explaining who you are, why you are, and how you are to people, because I think people would really love you, like, if they actually heard you. Now, granted, not everybody, but I think people, you know, and he always said he killed him with indifference. So he thought if you answered one story or one narrative, he would have to answer every single one. And he didn't want to get into the game of answering every single story. So for like a good 10, 11, 12, 13 years, he literally never talked about anything ever. And he's one of the greatest of all time. So I just told him that my brain is very basic and dumb. So my questions are probably going to be very similar to what a lot of people would have. And if you ever think about opening up and chit-chatting or doing any media, like, we would love to do it. Now, obviously, this year, that turned into...
that 25-odd minutes where you just didn't talk. Is that the longest you've been quiet for in your life?
Dude, as it was all going on, I knew, like, all right, so I try not to keep up with the actual news of the world because I think ignorance is bliss, and I think everybody has a role. I am nowhere near the person that should be telling anybody how they should feel about actual things. Like, if it is an actual decision that affects the real world, nobody should be listening to me. I am very much understanding of that. I don't know how I feel, so there's no reason for me to tell other people how they feel. Now, I do understand what the world is currently blowing up over, right? So at that time, the vaccination, the world reopening, the dangers to society, and Aaron being the MVP, while that also being the biggest story in the world with how his entire thing unfolded, you know, I was kind of dropped right into the middle of that whole thing. And I'm wearing a tank top, obviously. And I'm sitting there, and, you know, people let their jokes fly from all around the world. I mean, I was on basically every political punditry show around the entire globe that evening. And, boy, I was getting some ricochet shots. But I will always be a person that I enjoy conversation. Like, I enjoy knowing why somebody is the way they are, what they are. And I think I learned that in the NFL in the locker room. I come from somewhere that's very different than somebody that comes from South Florida, let alone somebody that comes from Cali or South California or Northern California or Washington or Chicago. Like, there is reasons why people believe the way they believe. And I think I got to experience that in the NFL. I was invited to cookouts. I was invited to galas. I was invited to everything, because I was very fortunate to have good friends and very fortunate to be in a lot of spots. So I feel like I enjoy getting to know why people are the way they are. And I'm not smart enough to push back on every single thing I don't necessarily agree with. But, boy, my journalism got called into question. And it was not something I ever expected, obviously. And yeah, I felt bad for Aaron, though, because I don't think he wanted to talk about it. So that's why he did the immunized thing early, because he didn't want to be like a face of it. He didn't want to be a poster boy of it. I honestly, genuinely believe this. But then as soon as it happens, and then the media finds out, he lied to us, which, by the way, I didn't know at the time when he said it, or I didn't ask anybody about that. Like, you do what you got to do, because I know a lot of people that are like some of the most in shape people on earth, and they're like, yeah, I'm not going to shoot something inside of me. I'm like, all right, you do what I'm going to get vaccine boosted because people are telling me it's smart, and also the world's opening back up for me, so I'm going to do that. You do whatever the hell you want to do. So I've always felt that way. So it's just, we got thrusted into a conversation that I never thought or wanted to get into, but Aaron was kind of forced into it as well, and boy, he did not back down from anything. And then he said a lot of things, too, that was generating a lot of stuff, and I took a lot of shots. I mean, I was taking a lot of shots. There were some days where I was like, all right, I got to do some curls at least going in here, because I'm being called a flabby-armed man in different languages. When I start having to translate tweets, that is when it really... That is when I'm like, all right.
Oh, not again, another flabby arm.
Flabby arms and from Turkey over there. Like, it was happening. It was a wild scene there for a while. But Aaron, I'm very thankful he comes on the show. Hopefully he'll continue to do it. It seems like every time he does, he wins an MVP.